The thing that drove you to want to start a business, what was that? What was the thing that made you go, I'm definitely going to do this?
I was tired of being turned down. I'll never forget, I went home to my wife one day and I said, I'm no longer going to give them my $1 million ideas. We're going to create our own $1 million business.
Tell me about the first 90 days in your business.
A lot of people can't get started in that first 90 days because they're stuck in perfectionist mode.
That's right.
Things will never be perfect. No matter what you do, you have to launch it, you have to analyze it, you have to optimize it.
It's hard building a business. It's infinitely harder building it with your life partner.
I feel like social media has done a disjustice where we think the first thing I launch, I'm going to become a millionaire. When I see people that go from 6 figures to seven to 8, they have an internal drive that's not driven just about the money.
Just leave the crime scene. If something fails, it's a crime scene. Leave. Don't stay there. Now you are CSI. Who shot who and where? But no matter how accurate the analysis is, it's dead. Hello, family. You joined me from beautiful, rainy Virginia. I'm on tour here in the US, and it's been an incredible time so far. The next episode you're about to watch is me interviewing an amazing entrepreneur builder, a guy called Lamar. He's become a good friend of mine since. And he runs a platform called TSP, Traffic Sales and Profit. He helps entrepreneurs generate traffic, convert that traffic into sales, and those sales into profits. It's going to be a great masterclass of all of the things you need to know and the mindset you need to get on how to build and scale your business. I really, really hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did. I'll see you soon. Cheers. Hello, family, and welcome to another episode of Ideas That Matter Plus. And here we talk about ideas that matter and that can transform your life. I can't believe we're now well over 1 million subscribers. It's an incredible place for us to have come to so quickly into the journey. Today, I'm joined by an unbelievable human being. Now, you guys know I love working with people who build other people, because I think it's one thing to build yourself, especially if you come from a place where there wasn't a lot of success being modeled. For you to build you is hard work, but for you to cognize what it takes to build and then build others, that's life-changing stuff. And so it gives me great pleasure to introduce Lamar Tyler. We're met here in Atlanta. He's hosting an incredible conference at which I'm speaking. And so I thought, why not take the opportunity to have Lamar on the pod? Hey, Lamar.
Hey, thank you for doing this, having me on. I'm excited.
So, it's always difficult introducing somebody like you because there's so many like slashes to the things you've done, Correct. The various number of businesses that you've been in, the unbelievable, incredible journey that you've been on. And I'd like to start here with your permission.
Sure.
Tell me about who Lamar was at 8 years old.
Who Lamar was at 8 years old. At 8 years old, Lamar was the youngest of 3 sons.
Wow.
Growing up with a single mom.
Wow.
In the Washington, D.C. area. In probably around that time, I was first getting the inclinations that I was dreaming about entrepreneurship.
Right.
Probably like the seeds, like the initial seeds. Now, I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what that would look like. I didn't know what it would be because I didn't grow up in a family of entrepreneurs.
Right.
So sometimes people say, well, you're doing all this. You must have grown up and seen. I didn't, which to me made the journey longer than it should have been to get to initial success. But those seeds were always there, though.
Tell me about mom.
Yeah, my mother was a great woman. Like I said, raised 3, not just 3 children, 3 sons, which is different. I want to be clear. I want to be clear about that. Not 3 children, 3 sons,
that's
which I was the youngest of which. And, I don't know if my brothers see this or not, but I can tell you I was the best child. But I was the best child, but I also was the youngest child. So she really wanted to make sure I was better than them. You know what I mean? Which things turned out. It turned out correctly. That did actually happen.
Tell the truth. Were you the favorite?
They would say I was. There's a little jealousy, a little bit of hate in their eyes. I think they definitely would say I was. And I think most of the older siblings say the youngest is the favorite. We have 4 kids, and our older children say the youngest is our favorite.
Yeah.
And I probably was, right? But I also say I didn't give her the same amount of stress.
Right.
I just kind of watched what everybody else did and said, all right, I want to do that. I don't want to do that. They got in trouble for doing that. I don't want to get in that type of trouble, and let me move on. But she did a great job of raising all 3 of us, becoming a success herself. And, seeing her, she was a hard worker. So how she worked, she worked for the federal government here in the U.S. So seeing how she worked, how she went to work to provide for myself and my brothers every day, to see how, she not just worked, but she grew in her career. She went back to college, got her degree when she was, in around like 40 years old or so.
Wow.
So I saw her doing all those things while raising 3, boys that were full of energy, full of spirit and all these different things, but still becoming a success. And while it wasn't the entrepreneurship I modeled, part of the grit, the sustainability, the hard work, I definitely could model after my mom.
That work ethic.
Exactly.
I love that.
Exactly.
How do you, in your journey, get to a point where you go, I think I want to be the guy that does something from nothing? How do you become the person who says, I don't want to walk into a building that exists. I want to imagine a building and build it. I don't want to walk into a business that's there. I want to imagine a business and build it.
Yeah. And like you said,
how does that happen?
It was an earlier journey, and hopefully some of the people watching this can connect with it. It was an earlier journey of knowing I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to build something, but I just didn't know what that looked like.
Yeah.
So I didn't know, like, okay, these are the first couple steps.
Yeah.
To me, it was just trying to figure out, like, what does that, mean? So from a child, it might have meant, okay, me and my friend have a lawnmower. I work hard, he works hard, he can draw well, so I can get the printer paper, so I got the paper, he draw it. Now we got flyers that we put in everybody's mailbox, and we're cutting grass.
Now you're in the media business.
Exactly, right? So literally just going like step by step and trying to figure out like what that meant. And there was a lot of lessons, like even in those earlier days, from being young to being in high school to then being in college, eventually leaving college to start working early, but just like path. Always while I was doing different things in my career, and I was in a career that had a trajectory that was growing and moving, I still knew there was something burning inside of me. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I just didn't know how. And really even like how that initial concept of how it became, you talked about the media. It was a magazine here in the States called Black Enterprise. Yes. And Black Enterprise was started in the 70s by Earl Graves Sr.
That's right, yeah.
Because there was a lack of...
They broke a lot of stories, Black Enterprise.
Yes,
right?
exactly, right? Because they were stories nobody was covering because they thought it wasn't important.
That's right.
But I'll never remember, like, being a teenager, walking past a newsstand and seeing that magazine and then reading inside the stories of entrepreneurs that looked like me.
Wow.
That had grown $100 million companies, billion-dollar companies. And just creating a link that, hey, guess what? If they did it, I can too.
I love that.
And I still didn't know how, but sometimes before you know how, you just have to know that it's possible. Then once I know that it's possible, I can figure out how and the steps to actually do it.
So the interesting thing about you is there are some entrepreneurs who become entrepreneurs by default. They like don't have a choice, and so they start a business.
Right.
And they have to figure out how to make it work. You had a fledgling career.
Correct.
And you made the decision to leave that and to start a business. And at the time you're doing that, you're an adult. So life is already happening to you, right? There's bills that have got to be paid.
Kids.
So I'm going with this.
It was a real decision.
So you are at, I'm committed, I'm married, I've got, other mouths I've got to feed.
Yes.
And I'm willing to step away from the certainty of the paycheck to build something. I have so many questions around that, but here's the first question I have for you. The thing that drove you to want to start a business, it had to be such a burning thing that it was worth the risk. What was that? What was the thing that made you go, I'm definitely going to do this?
What it was is that I was tired of being turned down. And for years, again, I've been trying to figure out, like, what is entrepreneurship? I'm doing one thing, I'm doing another. Like, things aren't working. But it kind of came to a catalyst in the position I was in. I ran the IT department for a TV station in Washington, D.C.
Yes. And
when they made the move as a station group to say, okay, we're late to the internet, but we're going to go in heavy, they went in heavy. And I'll never forget, I pitched the idea and the concept to our general manager. He said yes. It took off out of, there were like 25, 26 stations in the station group, and each of them had 4 or 5 like local regional websites based on their cities.
Right.
A website that me and one of the team members on the team had created was number 4 out of like 80 something websites. And we had no budget. We had no team. She had all the connections of people in the city that were on radio, TV, writers that were writing articles and creating content. I had built out a website on WordPress, and I was like the technical person because IT was my background. I built the website and everything, and we grew it, and they didn't know how to sell it. They didn't know what to do with it. They didn't know like how to fit this new thing that we had, even though it had the views, even though it had the traffic.
They didn't know the revenue model or monetization.
They didn't know. Wow. It was funny. I think about one of the great examples is that we would have small businesses inside the area that would call, frequently and say, hey, I want to advertise on that website. Whoa. And they would say, well, as a, station group, we cannot accept advertisements that are underneath like a
X amount.
might be like a $10,000 spend or something like that. And we're telling them like, okay, well, we have 10 people that want to spend $5,000. Why don't we just take that money, get it on reoccurring, and let them spend $5,000 every month?
It's a good business.
But they couldn't do it. I think part of it was not that they couldn't, is that they didn't want to.
I hear you.
And as I was pitching ideas, because I've been an idea guy. I was pitching ideas in our meetings with the general manager and leadership team, because I ran a department. Every morning about what we could do. They had a scarcity mindset and a poverty mindset, I call it.
Man.
And what that looked like, I would say, hey, we can do this, and this. We can get these musicians from the city to come in. We can do this at lunchtime, because everyone in Washington, D.C. knows federal employees don't work during lunchtime. During lunchtime. I add that little part in case anyone watches. During lunchtime. I pause on purpose. During lunchtime. So exactly. So we said, hey, we'll create this content for them so they can watch it, they can stream it. And I would get answers like, well, we don't have enough team to do that.
Wow.
And I say, well, like the newsroom is full of, producers, it's full of talent, it's full of, photographers that can run out and shoot video. And we don't even need all of that. Give me like one person, like the 2 or 3 of us on this team, and we can make it happen. They would say, we don't have the money to bring in talent. I said, we are the leading TV station in Washington, D.C.
That's crazy.
If we give people the visibility, they will come. They don't need the money to come. It's just like every excuse not to do the thing when I knew the thing could be successful and I'd already proven success.
Wow. I have so many questions there, but here's the one that's at the top of my mind. So there's something about navigating an environment where you have vision to see what can happen, but you don't have the authority to make that thing manifest.
Correct.
Right. So you've got to lean on your powers of persuasion, etc. And when that doesn't work, how do you not just become despondent and go, you know what, I'll just be, because there's somebody watching this who's in that place and who's going, let me just do my job. Right.
Yes.
Let me just this is what they pay me to do. This is what's on the job description. Let me just do that. How do you still keep the fire and the enthusiasm and the foresight for what you think is possible?
Well, it was easy on the one side to keep doing my job because I had a wife and four kids. So I tell when people are like 22, 23 and they don't have like responsibilities.
That's the best time.
Yeah, that's what I tell them. I said, this is the time to take every risk, to do all the things when all you have depending on you is you.
Yes, sir.
But, what I did is, I'll never forget, I went home to my wife one day and I said, I'm no longer going to give them my $1 million ideas. We're going to create our own $1 million business.
Wow.
And that was when we started thinking like, what can we do? What can we create? What can we mold? But at the same time, Vusi, on the other end, I didn't stop showing up at work.
Yes, sir.
I tell people all the time that A players are A players. Meaning that, hey, if you think you're going to be an A player in your business, most people I know the A players in the business were A players when they worked in corporate, they worked jobs before. You can't go from being a C player working in corporate to being an A player in your own business. The laws of life don't work like that.
I'm getting goosebumps. I'm going to copy that and I'm not paying license. So good.
Let's end this now.
A players are A players regardless of the context.
Definitely so.
So whether or not Michael Jordan is playing for the Bulls or he's playing baseball, he's an A player.
Exactly.
And he's going to show up the same.
Exactly.
That's so good.
And too many times I see people that have the mindset and they think that, okay, because I'm working for someone else, I can I'm not giving them my all. But if I had the opportunity to do it on myself, I would.
So good.
You can't flip the switch like that. And the people I found that are highly successful at whatever they do.
Love that. So you leave, you start the business.
I start the business, yeah.
And tell me about, this is my favorite question to ask entrepreneurs. Tell me about the first 90 days in your business.
The first 90 days in the business, my wife and I, we said, what's something that we can do we're passionate about? We said, let's create, this is 2007. We said, let's create a blog. Back then, it's not now. Like we had heard that maybe somebody had made money one day somehow. We're
on
not
a blog.
Sure. Yeah, so it was like
this is the world pre-WordPress.
This is very early days. Yeah, we started on MySpace. Like that's, like Facebook was not there.
Yes. Started where?
MySpace, yeah, I'm older than I look out here, right?
Don't repeat that.
So this is pre-Facebook, but we said, what's something we're passionate about? And we said relationships. We said, what's something that people will talk about? Because even though we could create the content, I can write, but I'm not like, writers, I say, like, writers write even if no one's reading.
It's a true story.
If I'm writing, someone has to be reading this stuff, else I'm going to stop writing.
Yes, sir.
So we said what's something that people are passionate about, they want to talk about. We said relationships. Then we drilled down and niche down relationships in the African-American community, how we viewed marriage, how others outside of our community viewed our marriages. So we started a website in the first 90 days, looked like me telling my wife, Ronnie, I don't know what's going to happen with this, but let's create it as if it's going to become a real business. So that when it does, and if it does become a real business, we don't have to backtrack and set the foundation and do everything different. So when we got the domain, we got the real domain, we got the hosting, we got the real, web hosting for it. Like everything that we did, we acted as if one day it would take off so that everything was already in position, even though we didn't know whether it would work or not. And what it looked like in the beginning was, me and her just writing, maybe 1 or 2 articles a week. And then as, traction grew and more people came, that went from, 2 articles a week to 3 articles a week to 5. And then what I love is that it built community. And I love community. As we built community, people started to come in and then they started to ask us, can I write an article for you? And literally like that first 90 days just looked at us like trying to get the foundation down. And what I tell people all the time, a lot of people can't get started in that first 90 days because they're stuck in perfectionist mode.
That's right.
And I tell like if you put them against perfectionists, I can be the perfectionist any day of the week.
Yes, sir.
Because things will never be perfect.
Yes, sir.
And what I've learned, I call it LAO. No matter what you do, you have to launch it, you have to analyze it, you have to optimize it. And
Launch,
analyze, optimize.
I like that.
And it doesn't matter who you are and what size and what scale. So what happens is in that first 90 days, while I have the site out, I have an ugly logo, I have an ugly website. I don't even like to show it to people anymore. But the stuff is hard to look at now, but I got it to market. I launched it. Then I was able to analyze it and say, okay, are people reading this? Are they engaging with this content? What are the articles that they leave comments on? What's the ones that they scroll right by? And then I can optimize it and go make more content like that. I can optimize it. And, we ended up making 3-4 variations of the website, 3-4 variations of the logo. And meanwhile, while I'm doing all of that, there's somebody that's still stuck on trying to get the perfect logo, trying to get the first perfect article. And that perfectionism never happens. And it hinders too many entrepreneurs from really growing to the stage that they should.
I wonder, do you think people are perfectionists, or do you think they just use that as a clutch to just go, I need it to be perfect, so until it's perfect, I'm not going to pull the trigger, knowing full well that perfectionism as a state just doesn't exist? What do you think?
That's good. Probably what it boils down to, I never thought about it like that. Probably what it boiled down to is fear.
That's it.
Because behind that perfectionism, a lot of time is fear of rejection.
And judgment.
Yes. Of what happens if I put it out there and nobody reads it? What happens if I create the product and nobody buys it?
You said something which is so profound. You said, if I were to look back at that, it would be embarrassing.
Yes.
As you said it, I vividly pictured logos of my own companies and went, yeah, I can't believe we had a lion on fire.
And none of the animal rights people came after you for that.
I'm so simple. I was like, what are you doing? But the point is, you were honest with where you were.
Yes.
And you showed up with the phase you were at and the best you were at that phase. I just want to, you need to help me with the mindset of this. So your first iteration, you're at this business, you're going. There aren't yet the signs that this thing can be a commercial success. You're not getting the revenues. But you've got this article that you're writing, and you're going from one paragraph to the next paragraph. Because this is literally where entrepreneurs get stuck. I've got to write this article, but the dream is to build this media business. And often can't connect the article and one paragraph to the next paragraph with this media empire they're trying to build. How did you disconnect from the stress of building this really big thing to just focus on the detail of writing this article in this moment?
What we looked for oftentimes was confirmation. And confirmation, I think sometimes, especially when we starting out, we're looking for the wrong confirmation, meaning that the confirmation has to mean I sold 100,000 the first month or whatever it was. The confirmation for me might have been, hey, 5 people commented on this article.
Wow.
Somebody said this article changed the way they're going to talk to their husband.
It's good.
Somebody else said, hey, I love this and I'm going to share it with a friend. Like those levels of confirmation was enough to keep just moving. Because at the same time as we're doing this, I had a demanding 9-to-5. As I said, run the IT department. My wife had a demanding 9-to-5 as a project manager for IBM. We had 4 small kids under the age of 11. I had an hour and a half commute to and from work each day. So as we're coming home, when I'm getting home, she's already stressed out from work. From the kids. She's had them all leave. It's already dinner time. We go from dinner time to bath time to bedtime. And I can't start building the business till 9, 10 o'clock at night until 1, 2 in the morning. So to do that, right, it's not always going to be like, hey, every action I take has a direct result into the bank account. But it's small signals. And those signals were, we could see impact. And it wasn't, I was about to get divorced. We didn't get divorced because I read this one article. But again, it was like, hey, I shared this. Hey, like this made me think. And people showing up every day to get more of it showed that we were on the right path. And that's all we need. Like once we knew we were on the right path, then we would keep going.
One of the things I love about your answers is you use we a lot.
Yes.
Tell me a bit about, it's hard building a business.
Yes.
It's infinitely harder building it with your life partner because you're doing life and doing commerce and figuring it all out as it goes. Tell me high level. How did you guys like strike the balance? Maybe let me personalize it, right? So one of the things I get at home is I get this look, and this look is like, if you ask me one more balance sheet question, you have not bought me flowers in 6 months, nigga. Right? Take me out on a date. I am not talking about depreciation schedules right now. How do you still do the balance between this is you and my doing lifetime and this is you and my building for our children and our legacy time? How do you balance that?
It's definitely a balancing act, as you said, right? And I think everyone has to think like anything we balance has ebbs and flows. So there's sometimes when like, hey, we're right in lockstep and everything is great. It's sometimes when I have to lean in more at the office, or she has to lean in more in the office and the other one has to lean in more at home. But most of it has really just been over the years trying to get on the same page, the same accord. And even if we can't, making sure that we don't allow those cracks and those signs of an issue being there to hopefully flow down to either our children or our team.
Gotcha.
Because if they see that, right, then boom, a lot of times people see the cracks, they go into the cracks and they try to exploit them to make them happen. But over the years, what we've learned is that, hey, we have totally different strengths. Because one of the things you talked about, you said, hey, building a business with your spouse is exponentially, more difficult or harder, something to that degree. But if you can get it right, it makes your life exponentially better and easier. What I would say, it's not addition, it's like exponential growth, right?
Yeah.
Because what that looks like, the same things that you need to be successful in a marriage or relationship, same thing you need to be successful with a business partner.
Yes, sir.
We need to be able to communicate.
Yes.
We need to be able to have the same goals and the same mission, moving in the same direction. I have to be able to trust you. Like all the same things you need in a relationship. But the difference, I tell people all the time, is that me and you could say, hey, we want to do something together. Let's become business partners right now. But the one wild card is life. And I could say, hey, my youngest child is about to graduate high school. We're about to be empty nesters. In the next 5 years, my goals for life could totally change, which impact our business together.
Good.
Right?
That's good.
You could have a totally different approach.
That's good.
But hopefully with, romantic relationship, like our personal goals are moving in the same direction too. So our business like wraps around that.
Got that.
Now, again, like it makes it tough because there are stressors that happen in the business that definitely like cascade down and affect, our personal lives as well. When things get tough in the business, that makes it tougher in our personal lives and relationships. But the thing we always try to remember is that we're on the same team.
That's so good. Have you ever failed?
Oh, yes. All the time. I tell people all the time, I win more than most because I fail more than most. And consistently, like failed launches, failed businesses, a lot of times when people ask me, like tell me, 5 times you failed or 4 times you failed, it's hard for me to think about them because a lot of times I just don't process them as failures. To me, it's just part of the process. So that I know if I want to launch, let's say we have a new product or something we want to take to market, one of the things I already know is that we have to figure out not just what to sell, but how to sell it.
Yes, sir.
And figuring out how to sell it, most likely the first way we launch is not going to be the way to actually launch. And again, that's like another keep talking about mindset. That's another mindset block I see with a lot of entrepreneurs where they think that, hey, again, they're stuck in this perfection loop. They take a long time to get the first thing out. And then if the first thing doesn't work, then they feel like they failed and they feel like a failure. I'm looking at it from the standpoint of, hey, like it may be the 4th thing or the 20th thing. I don't know, but the faster I can move through the cycle, the faster I can find out what it is. And I tell people like I don't know whether for me, for clients, no matter who it is, Like, I don't know what the thing is that's going to be the thing to be successful.
Yes.
And I can't dictate that. I can't dictate if it's the 4th trial or the 20th trial. The only thing I'm in control of is how fast I move through those trials.
It's good.
So I just want to control that part of the process. But I don't process failure in that way. Again, it's just part of the process. So let me just get through the process as fast as possible so I can find success.
One of the expressions we have in our firm is leave the crime scene. So what that means is if something fails, it's a crime scene. Leave. Don't stay there. Because what we do, especially professionals, is we love staying at the crime scene.
That's good.
And now you are CSI and you're analyzing who shot who and where. But no matter how accurate the analysis is, it's dead.
Yeah.
It's not going to come back. Leave the crime scene.
That's
right.
good.
So let's start again tomorrow and let's try something new. You are high energy. We had our call online and our call was recorded, and immediately my head of marketing and research were looking at our call, preparing for my session for tomorrow. And they're like, wow, he's got a lot of energy. I said yeah, I felt that too. And then I meet you and I'm like, wow, a lot of energy. Do you ever get overwhelmed? Do you ever get despondent? Do you ever just like shut down and just, I have nothing to give anymore? Does that ever happen to you?
I definitely get overwhelmed because what we do, the thing I try to make sure people know is that entrepreneurship is not easy.
Yes, sir.
I feel like social media has done a disjustice. That's why I love your content so much.
Preach it.
Because it's very realistic. Social media has done a disjustice where we think the first thing I launch, I'm going to become a millionaire. Not even, if people really knew the numbers of how few people actually make these millions and grow
Preach it.
7-figure businesses, things like this.
Preach it.
It's not what we see on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, etc.
Amen.
So it definitely gets overwhelming in growing a business, running a business, building teams, right? All the parts and pieces that go into trying to get from, zero to wherever you're trying to go to. I think the thing with me that many people don't know is that I sway between introvert and extrovert. I'm an ambivert. So Lamar, in these conversations, Lamar on stage is big. The people that meet me on stage are so disappointed in real life. Because they're like, make me laugh, tell me a joke, like I want to hang out. And I'm just kind of like, yeah. They're like, Lamar, what do you think about this idea? I'm like, it could work. And then the people that know me as Lamar and not the speaker, when they come to an event, they're like, who is this?
Yeah,
who is this dude? Like I didn't, because I'm the same guy that when I'm not at my event, I can sit in the room and not say a word and get everything I need without having to let you know that I'm there.
I love it.
So I definitely have more quiet times than times when I'm on. So in those times, most time, I'm going inside a lot and making sure I get filled up. And then also having a network, and again, using the word community, having a network community of people that I can lean on that are going this same path that I'm going, like the importance of that know what it's like to build what we're building. There's know what it's like to have people depending on you, not just your family now, but other families as you grow.
That's right, yeah.
So that, there are times when you need somebody to just talk to. And this is where that part of being in business with my partner, like impacts it. Because she's living it as well. When I need somebody to talk to, she's like, I don't want to talk about that. Like we've been talking about that all day at work. She's going through it at the same time. So I have to have a community of outside people that I can connect to, talk to, and then sometimes just get things off my chest so I can process it. They can help me process it so I can get back in the game.
Without question, you are for sure top 1% of people operating in the space of helping entrepreneurs build value. And I wonder, from your vantage, what do you see as the biggest limitation mentally that people have in terms of building and actually scaling their businesses?
Not thinking big enough.
Is it really that? But tell me more.
Yeah, I think it's not thinking big enough because most of the entrepreneurs I talk to here in the US, for example, when I ask them, what do you want to build? How do you want to build? One of the first things they say is, I want to build a 6-figure business, right? I want to get to $100,000. And what they don't even realize is that $100,000 in your business is not like $100,000 on your job.
That's right.
So what I'm telling them is like
go deeper there.
We're starting off with the wrong mindset already about what growth looks like. And I'm telling them that, hey, in order to build a sustainable business that takes a punch, in the US, 9 out of 10, in the black community, 9 out of 10 black entrepreneurs are solopreneurships, meaning that only that person works in the business. So what I'm telling them is that, hey, when you build that solopreneurship, and most of them build because, hey, I don't like working for this person. I want to do my own thing. I want freedom. I want time freedom, financial freedom. But you've just left the job and created a new job. But the problem with the new job, Vusi, is that the old job had 2 weeks of vacation, but now I'm an entrepreneur on my own.
No vacation.
I don't have no vacation.
No support.
I didn't like working 50 hours on the old job, but in the new job by myself,
80 now.
I'm working 80 hours, right?
Sure.
The old job, I had benefits, I had healthcare, I had different things. The new job, I may not have any of this. So a lot of times we don't know because we don't really know the numbers and what that looks like. We know these things and words and terms that we've heard. Hey, I want to be a 6-figure business, not knowing that, hey, to be sustainable and really just to be healthy, we probably need to get closer to 500,000 just so that you can live and you can start to pay yourself and other people. Then I tell them all the time, like 100K can be a milestone. Okay, that validates the initial idea. I might have product market fit. I might know what I sell, how I sell it, and who I sell it to. But we need to get it bigger so that you can take a punch. They say here in the U.S., the first 4 months of COVID, like a large amount of Black businesses went out of business. Like they're just back on the sidelines, working for somebody else, not working, doing whatever it is. It's because, in my estimation, too many of them are too small. And when you run a $100,000, $200,000 business and you take a punch, you don't get back up. You get punched out of the game. If I have $1 million business, I can get punched and fall down to 500,000. If I have a $10 million business, I might get punched and go down to 5 million. And it's going to be some things I have to change and shift, but I'm still in the game. So we have to build just big enough to stay in the game. So when I talk about the fact, like number one, I don't think most people think big enough. Since they're thinking in the framework of success as a 6-figure business, they create the frameworks of a 6-figure business, which means they'll always be trapped in a 6-figure business. Because a lot of them, as I talk to them, we're looking at, okay, you have this business set up, but, and I'll say, what's your goal for this year? They may say, okay, my goal is to go from 100,000 to 250,000. I said, what if instead of 250,000, we said, let's go to 2.5 million? Or instead of that, what if we went to 25 million? What would have to change? And then one of the first things they say, Vusi, is, well, if I did that, I would have to get someone else to do what I do.
That's right.
Bingo. like now we're starting to think bigger. What else would have to happen? Well, I'd have to spend money on marketing. Well, I'd have to, get these operational pieces in. I might have to look for different types of client and different markets that I can move into. But if we're thinking too small, our brain never even opens up to think about the things that lead to large business growth. We think like a small business, so we have a small business until we're out of business.
Man, I have been absolutely mutilated on Twitter for saying exactly what you just said. So I'm glad you said it. I can come after you now. And the reason I'm saying that is because it seems in particular amongst our people, it's like a disease that just won't go away. It's like we can't treat this cancer, right? This idea that small is all we're capable of.
Yes.
Right. And in fact, if you're one of us and you aspire for anything larger than small, we have words that describe you, and they're not words of flattery, right? We start talking about how big you think you are and how much better you think you are, and et cetera, et cetera. But when we observe it in other communities, we don't have the same reaction. We're like, oh, of course, that makes sense. They scale their business 10x in 5 years. Makes perfect sense. Where in your estimation do you think that mindset comes from? Let me tell you why I'm asking this question. Sure. Because there is absolutely no way all of us across the world, no matter the continent you find us in, South or North America, Africa, Europe, we have exactly this mindset. Where does it come from?
Oh, that's a good question. It's deep. I feel like it comes from us being broken apart, right? And what I love now is that I feel like for one of the first times, if not the first time, like we're trying to piece this thing back together. It was like our conversation we had before. Yeah. We were talking about like, how can we link?
Yeah.
Like I've never like how can we
communities?
We have to link the things together because we've been separated apart, and that mentality I think has led to a scarcity mentality where we think that there's not enough success for all of us. I tell people all the time that they should never look at other people in their communities as competition, because I said if you added 9 times out of 10, all of you together, you don't make enough money to be competition.
It's a true story.
Like you could add, all these people, even if they have, let's say they have, $10 million a year businesses, you put 10 of them together, they making $100 million a year, whatever industry that's in, that's not even scratching the pinky, not even the fingernail of the pinky of that actual industry. So instead of thinking we're competition, what if we said, how can we collaborate? collaboration over competition. How can we get together so now we can go after bigger jobs, bigger contracts? But it's just been ingrained in us not to work together like that. But I do see things changing. I think the world is changing. There's a drawing now we want to learn more about each other. There's a drawing now where influence from Nigeria is permeating all across the world. Influence from South Africa is permeating all across the world, right? U.S. culture is all across the world. London, so now we have this new interest. Now there's an interest here where we want to travel to all these places where before we never could have imagined travel, not because the destination wasn't a great destination, but because what we were told about the destination.
Yep. It's good.
And I think that's starting to change.
It's good.
Hey, family. I just wanted to say thank you to the 1.7 million of you who are returning viewers on our channel. When the team shared that with me, I swear, I almost fell off my chair. I was like, 1.7 million people who return to watch the content on the channel. That's just unbelievable. I'm so humbled that you find the content we share valuable. And I promise we're going to do the best we can to keep bringing you content of value. I do have an ask though. 66.4% of you that watch the channel have yet to subscribe. You know what would really, really, really help me? I've got a running bet with the team, and we want to see if we can get that to below 60%. I need a favor. I need you to scroll down the video. You're going to see that bell icon, and I need you to press it, because then you're going to subscribe, and you're going to help me meet my metric. We have some exciting guests we've got planned for you, some incredible guests we've already shot. You would have met Kasim for our first Ideas That Matter Plus video format of the content podcast. And it's already gone viral. We literally hit 30,000 views within the first day of posting it. No advertising, no marketing. We just put up a link. And I said to the team, I think we're onto something here. One of the things I'm very passionate about is making sure we leave the world better than we found it, and that we leave our community better than we found them. So hit the subscribe button, and I look forward to sharing more content with you, more insights, more motivation, and just generally helping the world become a better place using this medium. All right, family, we'll talk soon. Cheers.
So you're talking to me, and I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm stuck at that 6-figure. I'm the 100,000, and I aspire for the million and the 10 million. What are the changes I would need to make? For me to be able to move from where I'm at to where I'm aspiring to go?
Sure. I tell most people in that like 6 figures trying to get to 7, what I feel like it boils down to are a few things. Number one is traffic. Like, do you have enough people, right? Lead generation. So if I have a storefront, that could be like literally people coming into doors every day. If I have a website, is enough people landing on the website? Because what I find in that lane is people that are good at selling whatever they have. They have great products and great services. They just don't have enough people to actually see the products and services. And then number one, once they see them, do they have a good mechanism to actually convert those leads into customers?
Got you.
So that's the big piece. Also around the top of that, once we get closer to 1 million, that's when like a lot of the solopreneurs stumble because they have to start building teams. And I can be great at creating a product. I can be great at creating a service. That does not mean I know how to lead, operate people and teams.
So good.
So now it means like, hey, am I going to take on the burden, right? Which is for some, right? The adventure for others of building that muscle so that I can develop something I haven't had before. I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs that have never led anyone in their corporate careers before.
Yeah.
So that's a whole new muscle they have to build. I talk to entrepreneurs that have never had a job. So with me, a lot of what I learned around leadership is what I modeled from the leaders that I worked under.
So good.
What if you never worked under anyone?
That's so good.
So it literally, has to build another muscle. Back to the mindset conversation. The other thing that's tricky, getting into those 6 figures, I tell my clients this all the time, is that around that $400, $500, $600, $700, $800,000, a lot of them have a major hurdle, and that hurdle is comfort. Because that's where they start to get comfortable. Now, it doesn't mean that, hey, I have my dream home, but it means I have a nice home. I may not have my dream car.
I got a nice car.
I'm riding clean. I feel good when I get in it. People look at me. Someone may be, snapping a video or taking pictures.
It's good.
So do you have enough internal fortitude that you say, okay, I'm living comfortable. I may have made more than I made work for somebody else, but I still want to go further.
So good.
And I think that part is the internal thing. When I see people that go from 6 figures to seven to eight, they have an internal drive that's not driven just about the money.
That's so good.
It's something deeper that they want. It's something deeper that they want to build. It's like a mission behind it. There's something there because they already, for the most part, again, live how they want to live. They're taking the trips they want to take, but they know they want to just drive bigger.
So mindset, attitude.
Yes.
And at a technical skills level, is there anything that you think, like, if you're at 6 figures, these are the skills you should be investing in getting?
Yeah, like I said, one of it is you have to begin building yourself as a leader. Because as you're going, and you have to master it all, but you need to start building that muscle.
Yes.
Because as you're going, what I've learned, like in that 6-figure lane, it's a lot about, again, sales, conversions. Can I get the people to me? Can I convert them into my product or service? You have to be a good salesperson, right? Because even if you bring other people in later, they need to know what you know.
Yeah.
So if I'm working alone, right, I have to be able to sell people on the idea, the concept that I have. As I'm starting to get closer to 7 figures and I build people in, then like most of my 7-figure entrepreneurs are great salespeople. But again, now we have to become better leaders. Now they have to become more strategic about how they spend their time and how their team spends time. Now it's less about, I tell people all the time, they can get to 100,000, 500,000 just by hustle. I can just brute force my way there of just doing all the things by myself all day, every day. But as we grow larger, now like the strategy comes into place. Are we doing annual planning? Are we, breaking those annual goals down into quarterly goals, quarterlies down into monthlies, monthlies into weekly, like, are we delegating and handing things off of our plate onto other people's plates so that they can execute? And then are we developing not just employees, but leaders out of the employees so that they can grow? It becomes a different skill set. Now, a lot of people get stuck here and a lot of people say, I don't want to grow further. Because what I find is that a lot of people tell me the team part is the hardest part.
That's right.
They say, as long as I can sell things, I can bake the cookies, I can build the homes, I can do whatever it is. Yeah. But the team part is hard because they get into this cycle with team where they hire someone and they're so excited. I have my first employee. I'm so excited. They want to change everything, be with me forever. And then it doesn't work.
True story.
And then that person, they get people, and oftentimes we hire the wrong way as well. Because what happens is we hire technicians to take this part off of me. I do this every day. I want you to do it instead. And now we have a team of technicians. And I tell folks, now we're doing work. It's just a different type of work. So before where I was doing the thing, now I have somebody else doing the thing, but they're asking me questions every day about the thing that they do.
Yes, sir.
And I get burnt out from answering the questions.
Gotcha.
What I'm thinking is, if they're going to ask me these questions over and over, then I might as well do it myself.
Yes.
Because I'm looking at the money I'm paying them, sometimes more than I pay myself, but I'm asking these same questions. Why can't you get it? Because I'm doing 20 things. I just want you to do
Just one thing.
this one thing.
Yeah.
But the problem is because we're trying to build from the bottom up instead of the top down. So instead of saying, hey, how can I get these technicians? And then realizing that they still need someone to lead them, to nurture them, to onboard, to train. How can I get a leader that can then build a team of technicians beneath them? And if I get a leader that can build that team, now I'm not talking to all the technicians. I'm just talking to the leader. The leader then is saddled with making sure they get the results, making sure they drive the team, making sure they nurture and lead the team. A lot of things I may not have time to do because I'm trying to look at the overall vision and grow the overall business.
And the only way the business can afford a leader at that level is if you're willing to accelerate its rate of growth to cover those costs, right?
Yes. It's funny. We've been having this conversation about fast cash.
Yes.
And a lot of times when people think of the words fast cash, they think of it as a negative thing.
That's right.
It's a scam. It's like, what are you trying to do?
Yeah.
But, it made me realize we've been talking to a lot of entrepreneurs over the last year, like businesses need fast cash. And we have a goal where we might say, hey, by the end of this year, I want to get to, I'm at 500,000, I want to get to 5 million. But what I've noticed and what I've been telling them is that that's your, 12-month longer goal. But you need a fast cash goal in the middle of that. And oftentimes that fast cash helps you get to the longer cash.
That's a true story.
And I'll explain. I'll ask them, okay, if you want to get from 500,000 to 5 million, what will that take? Well, I need to increase my ad spend and do more advertising. How much do you need to increase your ad spend? Well, if I had an extra $5,000 a month, that could bring in the sales I need to have my $5 million year. Well, I say, well, okay, before we focus on the 5 million, let's focus on the 5,000. Because then if we can focus on the 5,000, you have what you need to move forward. People say, well, I could, grow to $10 million if I had this leader on the team. How much is it going to cost you for the leader? Well, maybe it costs me $8,000 a month. Well, the fast cash number is 8,000 a month. How can we unlock that? And most of us have it in the business. It's just locked up. When I say locked up, what I mean is we haven't pulled the levers, right? A lever, if we pull a lever, it's a small, gear mechanism that's going to have a maximum or major output.
I like that.
So when I look, there are people that send out proposals, but they don't send them out properly. It's people that do proposals, and it's like 4 levers I like to talk about, if I can explain them.
Go for it.
Right. There are people that send out proposals. That's the first lever. And what they do is oftentimes they send out proposals for things they don't have to send proposals for. About 30% of the people I talk to are speaking with people and saying, I'm going to send a proposal. When people don't need a proposal, all they need is the price.
Oh, man. That is so good. So you'll share the other 3. Why would they say, and I know this because I've suffered it, but I'm going to ask the question anyway. Why would you say that? Why would you invent more admin for you to do the thing that the person on the other side of the phone is already wanting to do?
Most time it's confidence or lack of confidence in pricing.
Say that.
So I don't have confidence in my pricing. So let's get on the phone. When I get on the phone, when a person gets on the phone in today's age, by the time someone gets on the phone, they've done 90% of their research.
That's good.
When I walked in the room, you told me what? I feel like I know you.
Exactly.
Because I've been watching all of you. So if I want someone to fix the door in my home, the same thing. I've looked up all the reviews. I've done everything. When I get on the phone, I want to know one thing. What is the price? But when I get on the phone, I have to talk to you for 30 minutes. I have to answer all these questions. And at the very end, when I finally say, okay, here comes the price, you tell me, well, let me get together a proposal. And then I say, okay, how long is it going to take? You say 2 to 3 days. I know that is a lie. And I will not get that proposal in 2 to 3 days, but I play along. And then 2 to 3 days turns into 2 to 3 weeks. And when I ask the entrepreneurs, why aren't you sending the proposal out? It's a few things happen. Again, they don't have confidence in pricing. So I'm afraid that if I send it out and it's too low, I'm not making the money I should make.
Yes.
I'm afraid if I send it's too high, I'm not going to get the job. So I just don't send it. I procrastinate, put it off, and then when I send it 2 or 3 weeks later, I don't follow up.
Love it.
When I say why you don't follow up, like what's going on, they say, well, I feel bad because I sent it
late.
So it's literally a cycle that goes around and around. So we say first, do you even need to be doing a call? If not, can we just add a pricing on our website somewhere so the person has the ability to pay? If we do, let's systemize our products and services so that we already know if I'm talking to you and you tell me this is what you need, I have a template, I have spreadsheets.
Click.
Hey, they need this, it's going to be this many labor hours, and I can give you a price then, or I can do it very quickly within 24 hours, get that to you. And then our follow-up processes should not be manual, they should be automated.
Love that.
So how can we have systems where emails, text messages, no matter what it is needs to go out, can go out automatically, because a failure to follow up is costing us millions.
Love that. So that's the first level.
That's the first one.
What are the other 3?
The second one, and I call them pure, P-U-R-E for people that are watching and remember, right? So the first is proposal. The second is upsells.
Right.
If I go to McDonald's anywhere in the world and I say, hey, I'd like a Big Mac, the first question they're going to ask me is, would you like fries and a drink with that?
That's right.
Like, would you like to make it a combo?
Yes.
They might change the language.
That's right.
But they're going to ask me those questions. And by asking that one question, McDonald's makes billions of dollars in extra revenue. But what I find is that I'm talking to entrepreneurs and 8 out of 10 people, 9 out of 10 people are not asking that one additional question. Hey, you're buying this, would you like this to go along with it? And a lot of times they think, hey, I don't want to be salesy, but it's not. Sales is serving.
Love it.
Because oftentimes the other thing that you're offering serves that person at a higher level.
Yeah.
And just by asking that one question, we can make more money. The third one is referrals. A lot of service-based businesses I speak to, I say, how do you get new clients? 90% of the hands will go up and they'll say referrals. I'll say, well, do you have a referral system? Hands go down.
I'm leaving.
And this is the thing. In food service, they have something called the bliss point. And what the bliss point is, right? Like the food industry created it, and it's like the perfect moment when someone is, drinking a beverage or they're eating a food and at their happiest level.
Love it.
So here in the States, they got these potato chips called Lay's, right? And I love Lay's plain potato chips. And if I have a Lay's plain chip, it's the right amount of crispiness that when I bite into it, it just snaps, breaks, has the right amount of saltiness. I'm making you hungry.
Taste it right now.
I'm making you hungry with this story. The right amount of saltiness, it all comes together. Same thing, I'm a Coca-Cola guy, right? We're in Atlanta. I love Coca-Cola, the home of Atlanta, home of Coca-Cola here. So with a Coca-Cola, it has to be fresh, right? I need like the bubbles and the fizz. More importantly than fresh, it has to be what? Cold.
Yes, sir.
Right? When I drink it, that's the bliss point. When I have that chip, if I have that Lay's chip and it's
I can hear that.
yeah, exactly, right? When I'm eating that Lay's chip, if the chip is salty, but it's soggy, it's not the same.
Yes.
If the Coke, right, is fresh, but it's warm, it's not the same. So in our business, we have to figure out what is the bliss point? What is the time when that customer is at their happiest level, which for some could be right when they purchase. Depending on what it is, for some, it might not be till 30 days later once they actually use it.
So good.
And, for a clothing in a boutique, it might be once the person wears it. Mm-hmm. And they get compliments, right? It's different for every business. Mm-hmm. But A, we have to figure out what the bliss point is. Mm-hmm. And then B, beyond the bliss point, then we have to figure out how can I automatically, systematically, every single time, every single customer, meet them at the bliss point and then ask for the referral.
So
and not
good.
just ask for referral, but how can I incentivize you for referring people to me and then incentivize the person that comes in so it's a win for both of you and them.
So it keeps that wheel turning.
Exactly. It creates the flywheel.
What's the E?
The E is my favorite. The E is experience. And if I could tell a brief story, a few years ago, one of my daughters turned 16 years old. Said, Dad, I want to go to...
How old are you kids, man?
Oh man, I'm an old man. I told you.
You look 24.
Hey, black don't crack. So we go to New York. She wants to go to New York City.
Right.
So we're in Times Square, and Times Square is lit up at nighttime like it's the daytime.
That's
super
right,
bright.
yeah.
And right outside of our window is a donut shop called Krispy Kreme.
Indeed.
Right? Krispy Kreme is amazing. It's great, and it's lit up. It's their flagship store. My daughter says, Dad, can we go down? So it's her birthday weekend. I said, sure, let's go. So I take my two youngest daughters down, and as we're walking into the door, the line is backed up. It's like a 20-minute wait at 11 p.m. at night to get donuts.
Wow.
Now, anyone that's ever seen a Krispy Kreme or had one knows that Krispy Kreme are best when they're hot.
That's right.
So we're waiting in line, and inside of it, they're selling merchandise. People are buying Krispy Kreme. I'm like, who needs a donut t-shirt? They buying t-shirts, they buying hats. They have like stadium seating that looks like a donut box so that people can just eat the hot donut right there. Oof. There's a window that has a conveyor belt. And on a conveyor belt, they have a glazed waterfall where little naked donuts are just going down the conveyor belt, getting drizzled with the glaze. You're going to be hungry after this. You're going to eat after this. So we're saying all this, but the amazing thing is, as we stood in the back of that line, I heard a guy at the counter yell out, ladies and gentlemen, we just sold another Big Apple donut. And everybody made some noise. And I'm like, this is interesting. And in about another 5 minutes, we move up a little closer. And he said, ladies and gentlemen, we just sold another Big Apple donut. Everybody make some noise and people clapped. And even though I couldn't even see up to the counter what was going on, there was one thing in my mind. And the one thing in my mind is, what is a Big Apple donut and how can I get one? And at that point, Vusi, it was not about the donut because I didn't know what the donut tasted like. So I didn't necessarily want the donut. What I wanted intrinsically was that experience.
It's a true story.
So I get all the way up to the counter. And as I get up to the counter, as a young lady helped me. And I said, hey, my daughters want, because kids eat all kind of nasty, sour things and weird. They just eat crazy. So they got what they want. I said, I want one of those Big Apple donuts. So she got the Big Apple donut for me. I paid everything. And then she just slid across the table. So I slid it back. And I was like, I don't want this. Because she was under the mistake that I wanted the donut. I didn't want the donut. I wanted the experience. So she didn't want to do it. She asked the guy next door, like, hey, would you mind doing the whole thing? And I realized that this is the guy I heard the entire time. So he said, sure, I'll do it. He said, ladies and gentlemen, we just sold another Big Apple donut, makes a noise, people clapped and everything. And I got what I needed. So I went back across the street to the hotel, opened it up. The first thing I did was?
What?
I took video. I'm a social media guy. I'm a digital marketer, right? So we just don't eat stuff, right? We got to film it. We got to curate it. I said, I might need this later. This is a great story, right? We're going through collecting stories. This is a great story. So I videotaped it. And as I videotaped it, right, and I tell a story, different places I speak, the number one question people always have is like, how much did it cost? And what I tell them is that a regular glazed donut at that Krispy Kreme store costs roughly about $2.49.
Right.
The most expensive filled donut, which is called the birthday cake donut, has yellow glaze on top and confetti candy sprinkles on top, costs $3.89.
Stop it.
The Big Apple donut costs $11. And what I tell people is that $11 for one donut. Now, and this is pre-pandemic. This is pre-COVID pricing. With inflation now, I hear it's closer to 13. But
Does it come with a mother-in-law? What's the story?
No, it comes with an experience. And that's what people need to realize. If you can take your product or service and wrap it in an experience. There are people that are willing to pay 2, 3, 4 times as much.
So good.
Not because they want the product, but because they want the experience.
So good.
In Miami and Las Vegas, it's a steakhouse called Poppy Steak.
Yes, sir.
They sell a $1,000 steak. And it's not about I asked the guy from Texas, because here in the U.S., like Texas, where they have all the cattle,
right, yeah.
and it's like beef country.
Fort Worth.
I said, take a look at that picture. How much would you say that steak is worth? He said, $50, in that kind of Southern Texas drawl. So I'm looking at it, it's a $1,000 steak, but it's not that people want a $1,000 steak. It's when they bring it out. We went to the restaurant because I got to see what the experience is. We go to the restaurant. Before they brought it out, I told my wife, Ronnie, I tapped her and said, hey, something just changed in here. And what it was, the atmosphere shifted. And it shifted because the music changed. And until that point, I thought the music was just coming through the speakers. Didn't realize it was a DJ in the corner. And the DJ had changed the music up. And I saw the wait staff was like bunched up back in the corner. And they were coming out with which looked like a briefcase. Now this briefcase is what they call a beef case. And when they bring it out to your table, they open it up. It has a huge raw tomahawk steak on it, sitting on like a bed of what looks like, they're not diamonds, they look like diamonds. And everybody is cheering, everybody is chanting. They got the box closed, they open it up, they like, let's go, 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 go. Then they close it back, open it up again. So it's the whole experience. Again, they sell these steaks for $1,000. The owner posted that when the Super Bowl weekend, right, the Super Bowl's in town, they sold over 200 of those steaks.
At $1,000 each.
Yes. Now, again, I can guarantee you there's someone here, might be someone in the same city that makes a better steak.
For sure.
It's not about who has the best steak. It's about who has the best experience.
What did the Krispy Kreme donut taste like?
That's the second question.
I just need to know.
People always want to know how much it costs, what it tastes like. It actually didn't taste bad. Now, it wasn't memorable, but it was bright red and shiny. It looked like an apple. It was bright red and shiny.
Right.
It had like a little leaf on it. It had a apple stem. The apple stem is actually a pretzel stick.
Right.
So very creative. And it comes in a big, almost like a ring box, but it's like the size of a big donut. So excellent packaging. Now I can tell you that packaging does not cost them extra $9 to create. So I'm sure the profit on it is great. But it didn't taste bad. It didn't taste good. It didn't taste bad. I don't even remember what it tasted like. But it tasted better than I thought. But I didn't want to go back again to taste another one.
It's good.
Because I'd already gotten the experience. But if I can just piggyback on that, as I tell that story, someone tags me every week. Lamar, look, I'm in Times Square at Krispy Kreme. And almost every time they're disappointed. Because when they go in, the person doesn't say, somebody just bought a big apple donut.
So good.
Like the last person that went, somebody tagged me 2 weeks ago, and he showed me the donut, and I said, hey, how did you like it? He said, I didn't like the donut. It didn't taste good. And he said, when I went in, they didn't do it. He said, I asked them about it. They said they no longer do that. So the other part of experience I tell people is that when you establish the experience, you have to maintain the experience. Yeah. Because once the word gets out and you become known for that experience, you can't drop a level, because having a poor experience is better than having no experience at all.
Proposal, upsell, referrals, experience. Love it. Thank you for this. This has been an enlightening conversation.
Thank you.
There are very few people that can take business, animate it, and make it an exciting conversation. Before we wrap, TSP game plan. Why did you build a community, and where do you see this community plugging in the next couple of years as you're scaling entrepreneurs and businesses?
Great question. We had that original brand around marriage and family, and as we built it, it was very public. So people saw us go from husband and wife in a corner of their bedroom to now we got an office, now we got a team, now we got staff, and they started asking us, "Can you teach me how to build what you built?" So we transitioned into traffic, sales, and profit, which we call TSP now. And we started out by, we have 2 conferences per year, every January and June, sales and profit. Yep. Like very direct. You know what this is?
It literally is the income statement.
Yes, exactly. So we started by doing 2 conferences a year. We've been doing that now. June will be our 10-year anniversary. We started in 2015 with the brand. Our first conference was June 2016. And as we've grown, what we've taught has grown. It used to be like, hey, people came for sales and marketing. But then as the businesses inside of the ecosystem got bigger, they needed help with teams. They needed help with leadership. They needed help with their business financials. And now that we've grown this ecosystem, it's like a complete ecosystem of growing these, most of them bootstrap businesses to 6, 7, 8 figures and beyond. Like you said, like we've started to think about like what's next. And probably one of those biggest pieces, we bring in the most amazing history makers and business people in the world like yourself. And there was about 2 years ago, we brought in Matthew Knowles, Beyonce's dad.
Wow.
And he came in and did a training for our private mastermind clients, and he came to the main conference and spoke at the main conference. And as we were having a meal, on his way out the door, he said, "You ever been to London?"
Wow.
And I said, we went to our original brand. We had an audience over there, but we just never went. Yeah. And I said, I told myself with Travis Soul's Profit, we're going this year. And he said, "There's a guy in London I need you to meet that does what you do. He just does it in London." He connected me with a guy, Raphael Sofaluk from UK Black Business Week.
I know Raphael.
Yeah, so we connect. Right. And it's like partnership relationship. How can we link this thing together?
Love it.
So Raphael comes over to my conference, speaks to the people, educates them. I come over to his conference. The next time Raphael comes and brings 4 entrepreneurs with him. And they teach and train. Then I bring 4 of my entrepreneurs, right? Teach and train.
So good.
And we're looking like, how can we tie more of this together? Because my people need what you have. Your people need what I have, right? Is relationship. So what we really realize is there's a global need for this information that we were so focused on the need being right here. But as we begin to step outside the confines, right? And for anybody watching, that could be, hey, it may not be from country to country, but like get outside of your city, get outside of your town, right? Like as we expanded, we realized that there are way more people that need what we have than what we initially thought. So at this point, it's all just about us connecting the dots and getting in front of those people and thinking bigger. Because for us, like the same things our clients go through, we go through the same things. Yeah. So thinking bigger to me meant, okay, I thought our assignment was here in the United States. Our assignment is global. And we're serving the same, when I'm in London, I'm serving the same types of people that I serve here, right? Like I want to get to the continent of Africa. I want to serve the same types of people because inside we all have the same ambition, the same drive, like the same heart.
For sure, we're going to make
what we're lacking is the information and the strategy.
Absolutely.
And that's what we want to build with Traffic Sales and Profit.
Done. For sure. By the way, Africa's on me. We're going to make that happen. I shared something with the team after our call. I said to them, it's interesting. The world has moved from being driven by demographics to driven by psychographics. And one of the limitations around demographics was always the locality.
Yes.
But this little rectangular device we all have in our pocket now connects the whole world so much that you have more in common with somebody in a part of the world you've never been to, whose language you don't speak, whose culture you don't understand, because you see the world in a similar way and you share values. And I think precisely this conversation is something that we need to advance. I can't thank you enough for this conversation. We have one question we ask everybody at the end of every podcast. It's called Ideas That Matter for a Reason. What is the single idea that has mattered most in your life that is the reason you are the person you are?
The single idea was probably that everything happens for a reason. The good, the bad, no matter what happens, I feel like every step that I take, every misstep I take builds on the next thing.
I like that.
So when I'm in that moment of things not going right, that doesn't mean I have to like it, right? But I'm realizing like, hey, somewhere later down the line, like this is building me for that next thing.
I like that.
And if I look at where I am today, the things that I do are all because the things that I've gone through. Again, good and bad, but they all have made me like who I am right now in this moment.
The wisdom I've taken from our conversation has been to forgive myself more. You have, and I'm not sure if you're aware of it, but you have an incredible grace in your ability to let failure go. A lot of people don't know how to do this, especially high performers and high achievers, right? If you've spent all your life being an A student, a 4.0 student, the one on the track team, the football team, this team, failing is hard for you. It's very foreign to your nature. And you have an incredible grace in your ability to just move on. So you've really ministered to me for that. Thank you.
Can I say one thing about that?
Go for it.
To me, you only fail when you quit.
You only fail
when you quit.
When you quit.
Because if I keep trying, if I'm keep doing the thing, I may fail that week, but overall, it can be a success as long as I keep trying.
And even in today's judgmental society, you think that's true?
Yeah, I think what we have to make sure that we do is we have to make sure we put the blinders on. We have to make sure we cover our ears
So good.
to some of the naysayers and people around you. Because most of the people, most people in this world, you don't want what they have.
So good.
So why are you listening to them? And that's the
So
importance.
good.
Again, I said it 2 or 3 times, community. And that's why we build Traffic Sales and Profit. You have to get in the community of like-minded people that celebrate you. And too many times we're trying to share the vision with people that aren't visionary.
Man. What? Say that in English? We're trying to share the vision
Yes.
with people that aren't visionary.
Yes. And it's not their burden to carry. Your dream is your dream.
So good.
So what people respond to are results. So keep the faith, keep moving forward. A lot of times because of what we do as a couple, people come and say, well, my husband, my wife doesn't support me. If you're at this conference and they're at home holding down the kids, if you're full-time in business and they have a corporate career, they're supporting you. You may think support looks like sitting at the conference next to you, speaking on stage with you. But if they're, doing some things there so that you can do things here, they're supporting you. And a lot of times the people closest to us have seen our limitations. They've seen our flaws.
Fact.
The person beside you saw that you bought a gym membership, but you never go to the gym.
Yeah.
They saw you say, I'm going to the conference, but never implemented anything.
Yeah.
They saw you buy all the books, but you never read them.
Yeah.
Like
so
they
you take the notes, but not do anything about it.
Exactly. So all of a sudden we tell them, hey, I'm going to build this thing, and we expect them to say yes and be cheering. Go get success. And when you get success and you validate it and you show people that you're serious about what you say, then people start to get on board. And for the ones that don't worry. Because again, right, your vision, your dream is for you. And when you start to grow, the thing you said that was brilliant about connection, not being geographic anymore, is that in today's time, there's someone that is looking for you. They may not be in Atlanta. They may not be in the U.S. They may not be in London. They may not be in South. Somewhere in this world, there's someone looking for the message I have. And because of the internet, because of our mobile devices, that person can find me if I put the message out.
Do you get a lot of resistance?
Yes. I think everybody does. Everyone does.
And how do you deal with that?
I just keep focused on the mission. I think that's important to having a mission, like a goal, like what's the thing that drives you and drives towards you. In our company, our mission right now, we say by the end of this decade, December 31st, 2030, we want to work directly with 500 7-figure companies, 58-figure, 5 9-figure, doing 100 million a year, one with a unicorn, $1 billion valuation.
Wow.
And we want to have worked and help those companies grow and amass that. Having that mission is what keeps me moving through the hard parts. And I articulate that with the team all the time. When stuff is hard in the business, when we're having to do extra lift, extra work, the events are coming up, I tell them all the time, hey, don't forget, I talk about those numbers, 550, 5 and 1. Like, if we do that, we'll make history. And nobody ever said making history would be easy. And if you want to be easy, this probably is not the place, because we're chasing mission. Like, we want people that are serious about the impact, serious about the purpose, and have that mindset towards that. And when I feel like this isn't worth it, when I feel like, hey, like a million other ways I can make money a lot easier than the work I do and still bring home net the same amount, the mission is what keeps me moving.
My mentor said to me, and I'm cognizant that I've gone over our time, but my mentor once said to me, he said, do you know any single author of any hit piece that was directed at any person that's changed the world? And I had a moment's thought, and I said, no. He said, exactly. But every single person that dared to step out of the comfort zone and walk their own path and leave a print in the world had somebody say something or write something that in the moment looked more important than it actually was in the arc of time.
Yeah.
It just didn't matter. To your point, it's like leave the number on the scoreboard, right?
Yes.
What did Jay-Z say? Numbers don't lie, check the scoreboard. Right?
Exactly.
Thank you for joining us, my friend. I'm looking forward to being on stage tomorrow.
Yes.
And I can't wait for us to invite you to South Africa. I think you're absolutely you're gonna do very well. People are gonna love you there.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.
That's my brother, Lamar Tyler. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Leave us with your comment. I'll see you soon, family. Sayonara. Cheers.